As many of you might remember from the last time, due to language in the federal law, as you know, I've talked about this federal law that was adopted back in 2003, which I hope one day will be changed, we are unfortunately prohibited from releasing all of the information in the report, including the names of gun dealers who sold many of the guns that contribute to firearm violence in Rochester. This legislation, as you know, was pushed by lobbyists for the gun industry and severely limited our ability to share what we believe should be public information. Nevertheless, the data we can share provides valuable insight into the problem of illegal guns. For one thing, just like the first report, this one shows us that the pipeline of guns flowing into the streets of Rochester does not begin here. But the people of Rochester are paying the price. Of the almost 2,000 crime guns traced back to their dealers, 2/3, 66%, came from outside of New York State. Let me say that again. 66%, or 2/3, of 2,000 crime guns traced back to dealers came from outside of New York State. And more than 25% of those crime guns came from just 3 states: Ohio, Georgia, and Florida. However, the share of guns from New York State has increased from 1 in 5 in 2022 to 1 in 3 in 2025. And more than 60% of these in-state crime guns were first sold in Monroe County. That works out to more than 20% of crime guns, or 1 in 5, coming from dealers within Monroe County. I would also point out that the city of Rochester does not have any places that sells guns. And my colleagues can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have any gun dealers in the city of Rochester. Now, while that number that I just mentioned does not represent the majority of crime guns, I still find it troubling that some of our own neighbors, business owners from the suburbs of Rochester, are supplying a significant number of illegal guns that end up in our city and used in a crime. The report's researchers could not determine what is driving this increase of in-state crime guns, but they note that policies at the state and local level to hold gun dealers more accountable would likely have a positive impact in Rochester. So that is a takeaway that Reverend Lightfoot and I have talked about. What are the takeaways from this report? What are some of the things we can do in Monroe County locally to hold local gun dealers accountable? These gun dealers need to understand that their responsibility to their community does not end when they complete a sale or a gun leaves their store. Another troubling finding in the report is that a disproportionate share of crime guns were traced back to a relatively small number of gun dealers. So I want to say that the vast majority of gun dealers are responsible, but there is a small number that are not. Almost 1/3 of all crime guns recovered in Rochester came from just 34 gun dealers. Brady said that data mirrors a national trend in which 90% of all crime guns recovered across the country come from just 10% of gun dealers. The gun trace report also points to a growing problem, and you all have heard this before, of ghost guns. Ghost guns are guns without serial numbers that are either sold as kits, assembled with components, or fabricated with 3D printers. The number of ghost guns recovered by the RPD actually declined from 63 in 2023 to 48 in 2024 and to 43 for the first 9 months of 2025. But in 2023, most of the ghost guns, 60 or all but 3, were assembled from kits sold by a single manufacturer that went out of business in 2024. With that company out of business, you might expect the number of ghost guns to drop to near zero. But unfortunately, now Privately manufactured ghost guns, those created from components or 3D printers, have skyrocketed. From 3 in 2023 to 22 in 2024, and to 21 only in the first 3 quarters of 2025, which was last year. With all that said, there is one possible silver lining in the report. The number of guns recovered within 3 years of their initial purchase is falling. When a gun is recovered from a crime scene within 3 years of its purchase, it's a strong indication that the initial sale was associated with illegal trafficking through a straw purchaser, say that 3 times, through a straw purchaser, or an off-the-book sale from a corrupt gun dealer. These guns are much more likely to be recovered from a homicide. Brady noted that a significant number of dealers that are associated with guns that have short times to crime metrics have either gone out of business or they've improved their business practices in recent years, which is what we want. We want business practices to be improved, or we want to put you out of business. So this decline could be a sign that fewer guns are being sold directly to traffickers. Brady also notes that with the total decline in guns with short time to crime, the percentage of these guns coming from Monroe County dealers has increased. This offers state and local policymakers an opportunity to have an increased impact on gun violence by strengthening their regulations from gun dealers. And this means that we have to have a conversation with Monroe County because, as you know, most of the gun dealers are none of the gun dealers are in the city of Rochester. We're going to use the insight we gained from this study to develop even more initiatives to stem the flow of illegal guns into our city. And that is where the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition comes into play. Gun violence has dropped significantly over the past 4 years plus. As you know, year over year, gun homicides are down 88%. Think about that, 88%. So we've seen some great progress. But guess what? It's still too high. As I've said, I want to be at functional 0. And there are still too many illegal guns on our streets. It's yet another reason why I remain committed to maintaining my gun violence state of emergency, because it is an emergency. If this was happening in any other small town or suburb, they would see it as an emergency. So it's up to us to see it as an emergency here in our city. And this report is one more tool to help us achieve important change. Now I'd like to call Chief David Smith forward to tell you more about RPD efforts to take illegal guns off our streets and other strategies to reduce gun violence. And then I will bring up our chair of the Rock Against Gun Violence. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. As you just heard the mayor hit pretty much all the highlights of the Brady report, so certainly no need to go over that again. And, you know, at our most recent public safety briefing, we talked about, the dramatic decrease in numbers. So I'm just going to go a little bit more information you haven't received recently. So far, the RPD year to date, we have recovered 222 crime guns. 36 of those were ghost guns. 6 of those had machine gun conversions, or what's commonly called switches, on them. Again, a little piece of plastic, again, 3D printed usually, can convert a Glock handgun into a fully automatic. Always a concern. And a total of 318 guns recovered. As the mayor talked about the iron pipeline and guns being brought in, of course, I'm not going to give away our strategies. We continue to work with our partners in law enforcement, the New York State Police, FBI, ATF, on many trafficking interdiction details, as we always have. That is a constant. One of the other things is, folks ask, how in the day-to-day are our RPD officers coming across these? There's a lot of different ways. I was standing here thinking over, the weekend we had, initially came in as a domestic offense, a dispute. The officers went, they received information investigating that there may have been illegal guns in the house. They went and got a search warrant. As a result of that, we recovered 4 weapons, 2 of which had been stolen. Another example, last night, officers on routine patrol observed a vehicle. They noticed individuals drinking in public around the vehicle, hanging out, stepped out. One individual immediately tried to throw down a gun and flee. And in the course of the investigation, they wound up getting another individual out of that car with another gun. So again, just officers on patrol using their observation skills, noticing something wrong, 2 guns out of that. So can't say enough about the hard work the men and women of the Rochester Police Department are doing. And again, a thanks out to all of our partners, including the Brady Group, that's really been able to make our efforts successful.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. And I just want to say, example, last night, and Chief, I think there might have been 3 guns last night. And I think 2 of them were machine gun capable. Think about that. Machine gun capable, the switches that he mentioned. I want to just thank the Rock Against Gun Violence, who has been, who pushed us on this report. And I want to give a shout out. She's not here, but Willie Lightfoot knows how much we love Kathy Richardson. Kathy Richardson, I found the email back from 2022, sent us Councilmember Lightfoot, Reverend Lightfoot, and I a note saying, "Hey, Brady, it does this gun trace data. You guys got to do it." And I also want to give a shout out to Nick Petiti, who is the data guru at the Rochester Police Department. He doesn't wear the uniform, but he's like the data guy. And I know the chief relies on him a lot. The chief is always saying great things about Nick. And I remember the chief, when I first was coming to the job, I was like, who's this Nick Petiti guy that he's talking about? But Nick worked with Brady to synthesize all this data. So this was not just done in a vacuum. It was done by the hard work of our folks. Also want to give a shout out to the police department in their work with our NIBAN machine. Rochester is really a leader, Chief, in terms of analyzing crime guns. And we are a leader in the country because of our NIBAN machine, which makes a huge, huge difference. But I want to bring up now Willie Lightfoot to talk about the work of the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition and how the findings from this report can help them accomplish their goals and continue on this work. Reverend Lightfoot, Pastor Lightfoot, started the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition in 2018, and sometimes when someone leaves office, stuff goes. It stops happening. But we said that we wanted to make sure that this coalition outlasts mayors and city councils and everyone else, and it has done that, which is what we wanted, which is what it was designed for. This is a community coalition, and as a civilian now, he is continuing. He served in the military now, and he served in elected office, but now as a civilian, he is continuing this work, and we are so happy about it. And this report is evidence of that continued work. Pastor Lightfoot.
Good morning, everyone. God bless you all. I pray that you all are well and your families are well. And we take a moment, if you don't mind, just a very brief, real quick moment of silence as we do open up typically our Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition meetings with a moment of silence to honor not only the victims, but just anyone impacted by violence and or gun violence. Just real briefly, real quickly. Thank you. Good morning. It is my honor to stand here at City Hall again alongside Mayor Malik Evans, the police chief, and all of our people here from the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition partners and all of you for this historic moment in our city's ongoing work to reduce gun violence. I stand here today as a former city council member, as the founder and chairman of the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, and as someone who helped advocate for the first gun trace data report released by the city of Rochester in 2023. Today, we take another major step forward with this release of the second gun trace data report. And at the time when we released the first one, we were only one of 5 cities in the country to have a gun trace data report. Now we're releasing a second gun trace data report. This level of transparency and accountability is rare in America. Rochester is not only talking about solutions, we're measuring them, documenting them, and acting on them. The Bible teaches us in Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 32, that you should know the truth and the truth shall make you free. This report is the truth. It reveals how illegal guns are entering our community. As a barbershop owner in a very distressed area of our community, in the 14611 area, oftentimes we hear that these guns are coming from corner stores, etc. Here's the truth of where these guns are coming from. And this truth is and how they're entering our community. And it helps us, this truth is helping us to build a safer future for our children. This matters. Why? Because data matters. It tells us the truth about how illegal guns are entering our community, and it gives us the tools to stop that flow. And this work will not stay local. Rochester's data-driven approach will be presented later this month at the National Faith Leaders Summit on Gun Violence Prevention, hosted by the Clergy for Safe Cities, taking place in June 29th through the 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. But before I go any further, as the mayor was alluding to, I want to pause and honor someone whose presence is deeply felt. And even though she cannot be with us today, Kathy Richardson, our representative from the Greater Rochester Brady United Against Gun Violence and a member of our United Against Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, Kathy is at home caring for her husband, and we lift them both in strength and prayer. But even in her absence, her voice, her conviction, and her courage are here with us. Kathy asked me to share a message with you all. Even though, quote, even though I cannot be with you today, I want our community to know this. Data tells the truth, and the truth demands accountability. She reminds us that behind every number in this report is a life, a family, a story, and that we owe them more than just silence and just prayers, but we owe them action. She also said, quote, we must ask the hard questions. Who's supplying the guns? Who's failing to secure their inventory? Who's ignoring the warning signs? And who is being held accountable? And she urges us forward that, quote, a biannual gun trace data report is essential, and we must build the data hub and link house tools that turn information into action. So we honor Kathy today. Her absence is felt, but her impact is undeniable. I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to City Council President Miguel Melendez, Vice President LaShae Harris, and all the members of the Rochester City Council, past and present, and former administration, Lovely Warren, for helping us to get off the ground in 2018. For the last 8 years of partnership, leadership, and commitment to public safety. Your support, collaboration, and willingness to stand with this community, clergy, and law enforcement have helped make this work possible. I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had to serve alongside all of you. I'm honored of this work that we're continuing to do for our city. I want to thank Brady, the mayor, the Rochester Police Department, every member of the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, one of the most diverse and unique coalitions in the nation. I'm working with the Clergy for Safe Cities that are working with pastors all over the country around gun violence. And they are so at awe that we have such a coalition as this, and that we have the partnership in writing from the mayor and the commitment from city council to move this type of work forward, and a diverse from law enforcement to boots on the ground to academia to the hospitals are all at a table working on a comprehensive effort. No one person can decrease gun violence. No one group can decrease gun violence. But collectively, we as a community, we're decreasing gun violence. This coalition reflects the full spectrum of Rochester's people, and that's why it's working. And we're seeing results. I said we're seeing results. We're grateful for the decline in the shootings, the homicides in our city. Progress like this doesn't happen by accident. It happens because community members, clergy, law enforcement, advocates, survivors, the mayor, and partners refuse to give up on Rochester. As we look ahead, the Rochester Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition will continue to push for what our community needs most. Expanding victim services, including stronger faith-based supports, a comprehensive resource guide for families and survivors and service providers. Legislation requiring a biannual gun trace data report so that this transparency becomes permanent and public. And collaboration to build new data tools, including a community-centered data hub lakehouse to help us better track trends, sharing information publicly, and strengthening prevention strategies, as well as working with our partners in county and state government to advocate for the increase of the gun dealers' code of conduct, as well as enforcement of the gun dealers' code of conduct so that we can shut down this illegal crime guns in our city. So I want to go off script very quickly and just say how 8 years ago I came into this city with bushy-tailed and thinking like, going to change the world as one city councilman out of 9. But the charge that was placed in my heart by God from a public safety standpoint of 22 years on the Rochester Fire Department, 12 years in the United States Air Force, and all of the time I spent in county government and city government was the life safety is the most important thing. That was the charge that was placed on me. And when I saw what was happening around life safety, how we were losing majority of our people in this city, it was through gun violence and violence. So the charge, the assignment that was placed upon me at that time, 8 years ago, was to reduce gun violence. That was the charge. And we worked 8 years, and I'm happy to be a part of that solution. Not the solution, but I was a part of that solution. And at the end of 8 years, I'm proud of that legacy to see those numbers come down significantly, even past, at that time, we were averaging 20 to 30 homicides a year in 2018. And that number was way too high. And we're finding our numbers decrease even below that. And one life is one life too many. And we're going to continue to fight until there is no gun violence, as the mayor has said, in our city. So I speak today not only as a founder of this coalition, but as a pastor of Prayer House Church of God by Faith, as a business owner, a representative of two of the most challenged zip codes in the city of Rochester. My church is in 14605. My barbershop is in 14611. I'm proud to stand with victims, first responders, every resident who believes in a safer, stronger Rochester. Today we celebrate progress. Tomorrow we continue to work. And thank you. May God bless you, and may God bless Rochester.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Lightfoot. I also want to remind folks that, as was said, June is Gun Violence Awareness Month. I want to encourage everybody to come to our 3rd annual Wear Orange to Prevent Gun Violence. For those of you that may not know, the reason why we wear orange is because Hadia Pendleton was a great young lady that performed at the inauguration of Barack Obama, the 2nd inauguration of Barack Obama. Her favorite color was orange. And when she went back home to Chicago, she was killed by a stray bullet. So because of that, we all wear orange, usually the first week in June for our Wear Orange to Prevent Gun Violence, and consultation and in collaboration with Rock Against Gun Violence and tons of other partners. Moms Demand Action will be there, and many other organizations. I'm Parser 5 from 4 to 8. So we urge everyone to come out and wear orange. We cannot do this alone. It takes a collaborative effort, and if you look at the numbers, they speak for themselves this year. They spoke for themselves last year, and we want them to continue to speak for themselves. One shooting, one homicide is too many. Remember, we now treat every shooting as if it's a homicide. That's never been done before. We treat every shooting as if it was a homicide, right, Chief? He was the person who wasn't cooperating. We said, we don't care. We're still gonna go after the person that pulled that trigger because we think that is important. So please, on Friday, come to this family-friendly event. It will include music and dance and performances, even bounce houses, games, food trucks, and more. The whole community is invited. We're asking everyone again to wear something orange on Friday to bring attention to the fight to end gun violence. We can end gun violence in a civilized society. There's no reason why we should have to have gun violence. And people say, oh, how can we do it? I remind you that there are places in this world where they have not had a gun violence related homicide or a shooting in years. Places in Europe, mayors that I've spoken to, Glasgow, Scotland, they have not had a shooting in years. If they can do it there, we believe by working collectively that we can do it here.